Namaskar, I'm Anubhav Ranjan and you're watching Ritam. Kejriwal's education system, a web of lies, discrimination and gross mismanagement. When Arvind Kejriwal took office as Delhi Chief Minister, he boasted of a revolutionary transformation in the education sector, promising world-class education and equal opportunities for every child. However, like many of his grandiose claims, this too has crumbled under the weight of reality. Instead of progress, Delhi's education system is now plagued by severe underfunding in marginalized areas, discriminatory policies, fabricated success stories, and blatant corruption. Kejriwal's so-called education model has become a textbook example of failed governance and deceitful politics. In this video, we will expose Kejriwal's deceptive promises and false claims. The first one is a winding gap, discriminatory funding in marginalized areas. Here is Kejriwal's promise: quality education for every child regardless of socio-economic background. In reality, the education funding disparity under Kejriwal's rule is alarming. Wealthier, less populated areas like Southwest A receive disproportionately higher funds, while districts like Okla, Ballimaran, Matia Mahal and Karol Bagh, home to lower income families, struggle with overcrowded classrooms and crumbling infrastructure. Instead of ensuring equal access, Kejriwal's government has actively deepened the divide, abandoning students in marginalized areas to a bleak academic future. The second one is SOSC, a false promise that betrays government school students. What Kejriwal promised was the B.R. Ambedkar School of Specialized Excellence (SOSC) was advertised as a beacon of opportunity for government school students. But in reality, instead of uplifting the underprivileged, SOSC has become a vehicle for systematic discrimination. Half of its seats are reserved for private school students, blatantly defeating its intended purpose. Worse, the institution's financial operations fail to comply with general financial rules, raising serious concerns about transparency and mismanagement. Kejriwal's education policies not only marginalize government school students but also mock the inclusive ideals of B.R. Ambedkar himself. Moving to third point, science seats, a private school bias that hurts the marginalized. What Kejriwal promised was more science seats for government school students, expanding access to higher education. In reality, the expansion of science admissions has overwhelmingly benefited private school students, while government school students continue to struggle for seats. Many of these private students don't even attend regular classes, relying instead on coaching centers for competitive exams like NEET and JEE. Kejriwal's policies have thus created an elitist system that prioritizes privileged students over those truly in need, sabotaging the dreams of thousands. Let's move to fourth, fake dropout data, a blatant manipulation of numbers. What Kejriwal promised was he will decrease dropout rates and indicate educational progress. In reality, the actual numbers tell a different story. 44% of students dropped out between class 9th and 10th in 2023 and 24. Instead of addressing this crisis, Kejriwal's government resorted to manipulation, forcing struggling students into alternative programs like Patrachar and NIOS, National Institute of Open Schooling, to artificially inflate pass rates. Over the last decades, NIOS enrollments have surged by an alarming 12.5 times, exposing the regime's deceptive tactics and masking its colossal failures. Fifth point is menstrual hygiene, a grossly ignored crisis. Here is Kejriwal's promise: ensuring proper menstrual hygiene support for female students. In stark contrast to his claims, 40% of girls miss schools due to menstruation-related absenteeism. The figure rises to a shocking 65% in schools that lack proper toilet facilities. Despite the glaring need for improved hygiene infrastructure, Kejriwal's government has chosen to neglect this pressing issue, pushing thousands of girls out of the education system. The sixth point is shrinking playgrounds, a blow to student well-being. Kejriwal's promise. The sixth point is shrinking playgrounds, a blow to student well-being. Kejriwal's promise: ample open spaces and playgrounds for student recreation. Reality: school playgrounds have been sacrificed for unnecessary construction projects, leaving students without adequate space for physical activity. This disregard for student well-being reflects a fundamental failure in Kejriwal's governance, prioritizing optics over genuine educational development. Last but not the least, the yoga scheme, a front for AAP's financial mismanagement. What Kejriwal promised was he will promote physical and mental well-being through yoga. But in stark reality, the budget for this program has been slashed by 98%, from 40.32 crore rupees in 2017 to a mere 0.80 crore rupees in 2023. Furthermore, the hiring of 15,000 yoga teachers when there is a dire shortage of math and science teachers raises serious doubts about the government's priorities. Allegations suggest that our volunteers were fraudulently drawing salaries under this scheme, exposing yet another financial scandal. Kejriwal's grand promises of an educational revolution have crumbled into a heap of lies, corruption, and systematic neglect. From discriminatory policies to fund mismanagement, from worsening dropout rates to the deliberate exclusion of marginalized students. The so-called Delhi education model is nothing more than a carefully orchestrated illusion. Instead of empowering students, Kejriwal's policies have only widened the divide between privilege and deprivation. The reality is undeniable. Delhi's students deserve better, and Kejriwal's governance has failed.